Good morning and welcome back to week 2 of the Engler Grind Podcast. Thank you so much for joining, and it was really great to learn about you last week. For folks who didn't get to listen, go back and listen to his experiences. Originally an Illinois boy, it's kind of Wisconsin, who is now a man living in Utah and does balloon artist on the side. He's a financial professional and really an entrepreneur in all aspects of life. I didn't know you played the drums. I'm sure there's other things that you do, especially hockey. How cool. You are just kind of like I said last week, a multi-talented guy.
Well, when you're young and single and life is moving forward, you got to fill your time with something. So, hey, get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah, I guess we didn't talk about this last week. You doing anything fun in your free time right now?
Well, just the hockey bit. I'm an adjunct professor for Southern Utah University. I teach ice skating and ice hockey with kinesiology. So that we have our summer courses coming up, which is good. That's exciting. And my other business, Sheepy Life, is growing. So And I got some tickets to I'm a Blackhawks fan, but a friend of mine was like, "Hey, my brother doesn't want to go. Do you want to go to the Vegas Golden Knights and Utah Mammoth game?" And that's tomorrow. So life is groovy. And then the job applications, those are terrible, but such is life. So that's the way
Part
it
of it.
goes.
Looks like we'll have to pick up more gigs at the bars, get a couple free beers, and get paid to um
Oh yeah. Well, it's Utah. A lot of the LDS don't drink, so
that's right.
it's the bar, you walk into other bars and you're like, wow, what a happy, cheery place. And you walk into a Utah bar and you're like, oh, this is just pain and sadness. And and so it's not always the optimal place to, bring balloon animals. But we'll make do. I'm looking to like I think I said in the other podcast, I'm switching jobs at the moment and looking for a new company and looking to move back to the either northern Chicago suburbs or east side of Wisconsin. So that is prime balloon making and good beer drinking territory. So hopefully we're on the up and up.
I love it. That's awesome. Very cool. Well, we're gonna get right into it. Um, we're this week we're kind of talking about lessons and advice, things that you've really learned throughout business or work, professional life, whatever that kind of looks like. Um, and I know balloon making is just so unique. I don't know another balloon artist. Do I call it balloon artist? Is that the right
Yeah, balloon artist. Yeah,
balloon
just don't call
artist?
me a clown and we'll be kosher.
Um, what is one, kind of lesson that you've learned throughout your time since you were 11, 12 years old, you've started this business? What's something that you've really learned a lesson?
Ooh, good question. Lots of things. Um, One, I think that I'm not thinking about how a lot of people are, especially those that are still in Angler and those even my age. Get off your phone and go talk to people. Go talk to people. The power of a conversation, the power of just a phone call. Don't send that email. Call them. Don't call them. Talk to people. There's my old friend from the army say, why stand when I can sit? Why sit when I can lay down? Why lay down when I can eat bacon and drink coffee? And don't email, call, don't call, talk to people because ev- you know the power of it is just lost. And being a balloon artist and part of being an entrepreneur, but also an entertainment-based entrepreneur is God, the risks you have to take, the amount of people that you have to talk to, the amount of rejections you have to face. I mean, balloons are a little easier. Everybody loves balloons. If you have a physical product, maybe that's a little harder, but got to talk to people. Got to talk to people. And the amount of, and you have to analyze, well, what do I say and how do I say it? How does this come off? My body language, what does it say? What culture am I in? What different culture is this other person in? It all matters, and those details, and you learn that by doing and doing and doing and doing and doing. I've been doing this 14 years, and I think I'm finally in the past couple of years, I'm at a point where I'm finally some of the old masters I knew who were balloon artists. I'm finally almost there, maybe, and how I talk to people. Even when I'd done this business for 7 years, I was early college. There were things I knew, like, oh, I got to get better at that. So it takes a long time. The details in life take a long time, and so talk to people, go do it.
Yeah, what do you think you're still learning today with this business?
With balloons, well, I mean, I've been doing it so long. I think I've got it down okay. But there's those times where you move to a new place or in a new area, you have to learn, and this is where you have to learn how to learn, right? You have to know who you're dealing with. The way I sell to, even if I'm selling physical products, the way I sell to a Nebraskan is very different than I sell to someone from Chicago. It's very different the way I talk, the way my body language is versus someone in Poland, someone who's Irish, someone who's from California. And so you have, people always say, or we think about, I shouldn't say, when we think about business, we think, okay, I want to get to a point where I'm on cruise control. That's not really the case. Business is evolution. Even when you know everything there is to know, you're going to come across something new that you know you can figure out, even if you can figure out fast, but you got to still do it. You still got to learn and figure that out. And also always be, and I think the biggest thing is, or I shouldn't say biggest thing. One of the big things is the difference between a master and an amateur. Pinky, he was a street musician at Summerfest in Milwaukee. We knew each other there. And he used to say that the difference between a master and an amateur craftsman is a master knows how to fix his mistakes. You can go into the situation, control it, master, manipulate it, be in control, fix your mistakes, fix things that come towards you. And as a salesman and entrepreneur, we have to be able to do that. And that takes a long time. A lot of that's just a self thing, being able to talk to people and not be so nervous that we're just going off of predetermined lines, right? We're able to be in control of ourselves in that situation, drive things where we want it to, say what we want to say, conclude what we want to conclude, and not let our emotions or fear or anxiety dictate how we move as business people.
Mhm. That's really good. There's so much there. I wrote down the power of a conversation, business is evolution, and I think that's such great advice. Um, are you still evolving your balloon artistry, or I know you said you got that kind of down, but you say it's evolving every day. What are you working towards?
Well, with other businesses, yes. Balloons, not so much. Like I said, I live in an area where there's just not a lot of opportunity for balloons. But even the other day, again, power of a conversation. I do for Sheepy Life just to, something extra exposed stuff. My other business, I do the local farmers market. And for the new like summer session, you got to do a new application, pay fees, and like I said in the other podcast, I might be moving to, or even I think in this one I mentioned might be moving soon. So I go to the guy that runs. I say, hey, I don't want to sign up for everything. I might be moving in a month or two. But I know there's a face paint over here. You guys talked about all this other stuff. I'm a balloon artist. Conversation went the way it went. Now I'm doing balloons there. So even the little evolution of what's happening locally, what opportunity presents itself and you take. And then, for those people out there, especially those in the entertainment space, always think about what am I missing? What's on the outside? And I do balloon art, but I do street music. Well, not now in Utah. We used to do street music. We used to do street music while we would make balloons and we'd fill up that tip jar. And so another thing is, I mean, be wary of competition, right? But think about, well, what opportunities are there? This person that I see as competition, are they actually competition or are they an area to work together? A lot of what I learned, new things that I figured out from we used to call ourselves the Balloon Mafia. It was my old Vietnam vet doc. My friend Amy was a machine gunner in the army, and then me. I was like 13 when I started, 14 when I started Summerfest, and I learned a lot from them, and they learned from other people. We worked together, and we all made a lot of money. And so, yeah, you can figure things out yourself, but it's a whole lot easier if you have other people to teach you. And so then you combine, well, this is what I've learned. This is what they've taught me. I'm going to try different things. I'm going to get new ideas. So work with those people that have experience. And then, if you do one thing in a business, try something else too. Experiment with it. Find low risk, high reward potential things you can try. And, if it doesn't work, what are you out? A couple dollars and a few hours of your time. But if it pays off, ooh, life is good.
I love that. Okay, wait, you mentioned Sheepy Life. Will you share about that real quick since I heard you talk about it, but I don't know about it?
So Sheepy Life is a business I started last year when I came back to the US, and it's been on the back burner for years, but doing my master's, COVID, got pushed to the side. So we have all this great wool in the United States that all these small time local shepherds have, and it gets burned, thrown away, sits in a shelf. And especially now with the rise of, I mean, that's one positive element, probably one of the only ones of social media is the amount of knowledge and information from a lot of these, influencers that are educational, talking about this is how we make sauerkraut, this is how we knit. At the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival, we see so many young people coming in now. Wow, I saw this video. I want to learn how to spin yarn and dye it and knit and crochet. And you can't bridge that gap. They're looking for local fiber. They're looking for good quality fiber that doesn't itch. And they oftentimes have a shepherd within 20 miles of them, and they don't know they even exist. And then they buy the polyester stuff from the store or the chemically treated stuff that makes you itch, which, superwash, or just poor quality industrial wool from China. And they say, wow, I can't find any good wool. Meanwhile, it's right next to them. And those, even when they can find it, I mean, the way it goes, it's hard for shepherds to make money. It's hard for them to make money. Oftentimes, it's more expensive. They lose money on fleeces. So what we do, we're with Sheepy Life. It's like, well, how do we solve this? How do we create a demand for fleece? How do we create products that people say, "Wow, I want to buy that. I love it." Makes us money. We can buy quality wool from shepherds. And so Sheepy Life is we make bracelets and bag charms, purse charms from the wool of individual sheep. And they're all Finns and Shetlands. So they have a natural, very diverse natural color range. I don't dye any of our fabric or any of our wool. It's 100% natural. So we got blacks, browns, tans, white, gray, all the above, some reds in there. And people can go online. They can look at different profiles of sheep, their pictures, their information, learn about this animal, and get a bracelet made from their wool and the purse charms as well, which that's brand new and already doing okay. So, and it's all soft. Finns and Shetlands are extremely soft, very comfortable. I forget I'm wearing mine, and sometimes I realize halfway through a hockey game, uh-oh, this might felt. It's getting sweaty and moving around under my hockey gloves, and uh-oh. But I've never had an issue, so I'm okay. But yeah, and with Sheepy Life too, it's we started the bracelets, then it went to bag charms. Back to that idea of evolution, right? It's always what else could we do? What else are we missing? And then trying to gauge that line of how much more investment are we willing to risk putting into new products and new avenues when we're still not exactly where we'd like to be with what we already have? That is a difficult thing to discern and something that I think plagues many entrepreneurs.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, interesting. I'm gonna have to go check that out after this now that I've heard you reference it, but I'm like, I don't think I know what that is. So, very cool. Uh, so you're a financial professional, finance professional. Um, Share a little bit about like the lessons you've learned from that and maybe what should entrepreneurs be thinking about?
Lessons I've learned and we should be what entrepreneurs should be thinking about financially.
Yeah.
Okay. So good question. So what I've learned is well, maybe not learned, but what really was reconfirmed in my mind is diligence is king. Not all financial planners are made equally. Not all are as ethical as we'd like them to be. Some don't know any better. They're willful but ignorant. And a lot of people, they don't think about their finances. I'll get to it when I get there, right? Like an angler, what do I always do? Start today. What do I always say? Start today, start today, start today. And with finances, it's the same. So be diligent. Ask those questions. Ask those details. As a business owner, you're going to have to make contracts. You're going to have to know every detail of that contract. You're going to have to ask the tough questions. When you have a financial planner, you're going to have to ask the details, ask the tough questions. And then remember, at the end of the day, especially when you're hiring a finance guy, he's working for you. So that goes two ways, right? He has to figure out what he's working with you and know if he wants to work with you and trust you. And you have to know if you want to work with him and trust him. Going back into the balloon part, you got to be comfortable talking to people. You have to be comfortable asking those tough questions. And you have to be, back again to the finance bit, you got to be diligent in everything you do. I think that's something that I think being on phones too much in our generation, that's something that like people always talk about the impact it has on communication, on social stuff, but diligence is overlooked. I think when you don't have that time to always keep your mind focused on things off your screen and really present in the moment, you lose your diligence and your conscientiousness. And that's really dangerous as a business owner because the little details you overlook or miss or say, "Oh, it doesn't matter," will burn you in the long run. Um, Advice for entrepreneurs financially. I mean, there's one you always hear I think just about every business owner has heard it, pay yourself first. That is kind of fickle because sometimes you can't, right? Sometimes you're like, well, I've got to pay this off before I pay this first, and I have this side business and I have my main job, so I don't really have to pay myself. So that's kind of fickle. But remember, this business is for you. If this business is not serving you logistically and financially, then it's a hobby, not really a business. You can make money from a hobby, but we have to remember that logistics are king in a business. And if a business doesn't work, it's like a hockey team, right? If you're not, if you can say everything you want, but if you lose, you lose. You didn't win. And in a business, and that comes down to function. And you have to say, well, what's wrong? What do I have to fix? What do I have to make and change about this team, the logistics, everything that will help us to succeed. The same with the business. Regarding business owners and financial professionals, financial consultants, be very diligent in your selection of one. And sometimes that just takes time, talking to a lot of different ones, not think, taking your time, talking to different ones, learning, not rushing into anything. You have some time when you're young, right? You got a couple of years. Take your time finding a good financial planner, but don't wait too long because everybody needs to have their finances in order. A lot of the people I know that think they do have it in order and don't want to work with a financial professional oftentimes don't know as much, nearly don't know, they do not know as much as they think they do. And so they're spending twice the work, taking on twice the risk to make half the money. Also, there's the power of compounding. Having an investment growing at 7% for 23 years versus 25 is a huge difference. So you want to start early. Get your retirement set up, figure that out, learn what you got to learn, put money away. Oh, I don't want to spend money on retirement. You're not spending money. You're putting money away now for your future self. And if you look at compounding numbers and compounding values, and like a friend of mine, I don't know. I got an old 401. I haven't rolled over. I don't know. It's kind of sitting there. I got like a couple. I forget. She had like between 1 and 2 grand in it, and she's losing about $5 a year because of fees, and it's not growing. And I says, "Why don't you roll it over?" I don't know. Maybe it's not too much money. I'm like, one, that's a lot of money. Two, by the time you hit 59, I think I calculated out if you're averaging like 5 or 7%, that's going to grow tenfold, if not more. I guess I can't remember the exact numbers. I think the final output was like 22 grand. And I was like, so that's the power and that's not just money that isn't growing, it's money that you're losing. And as business owners too, I think a lot of people look at money as an open system. I can put $1 into this jar and I can put another dollar into this jar. Well, if you only have $1, you can put 50 cents in each. You can put 75 and 25, but every dollar you put into one is a dollar you don't put into something else. And so every dollar we spend is not just a dollar lost, it's another dollar through investment or use that we could have gained. It's value we're not gaining, not just value we're losing. So that's important to remember. Numbers are king and they will define your life and they will ruin your life if you're not careful with them. So manage your money. Most of that's budget. Secondly, learn about what do I have to do to protect myself? What do I have to do to ensure for retirement? And I think especially in agriculture, we're pretty dependent on the government. We complain about it, but hey, who writes all our subsidies? We're very dependent. And then as soon as some policy changes, everybody's complaining. It's like, well, what can we do to make ourselves financially independent outside of, just our operation in the government? And that's another, reason that a financial planner or, especially with an area of trust where maybe a lawyer, an asset manager is, is important to have.
I'm thinking of the entrepreneur who is not good with their finances right now. And they have this business, but they're not great at managing the finances or the money. And they come to a financial advisor. What's your first piece of advice that you're giving them, or first place that they should spend their energy?
Question. So there's a couple different things. So as financial planners, we don't do a lot of budgeting or accounting. So by law, I don't have my I'm not a CPA. I cannot give tailored accounting advice. It is illegal. Um, and so first is just budget, have a sound budget, and that's can kind of be hard, right? You have kind of some miscellaneous expenses that are difficult, but if you can get the gist of what you're doing, that's really important. You can't diagnose the problem until you know what you're dealing with. And so you have to have a sound budget, know what you're up against, and then plan. Second is then the financial planning part. It's like, well, one, make sure you have your budget in order. Two, what's your income coming in and what money do you have aside? So before we do anything with somebody who's new with financial planning, we make sure that they actually have money to do something with. And part of the first part of that is having liquid cash. You have to have some money set aside in case something happens. And there's also some short-term investment strategies that we can do there as well. So you're at least earning something in that meantime. But it's good to think about. I think part of financial planning, everything's of finances, invest, grow. But a lot of it is protection and making sure that everything holistically fits together. And so we have to say, well, for short-term needs, are you covered? For long-term needs, are we covered? And health insurance, life insurance. What, different risks. What, how many kids do you have? Are you married? What this all fits into the equation. So there's a lot of things. We just have to gather a lot of information about you as an and like entrepreneurs, right? You got to do your research. You got to have your diligence. You got to know exactly. You got to know what you're up against to the best of your knowledge before you actually start your business or start planning. And so information, knowledge is king.
Yeah, for sure. Well, man, time goes by really, really fast. But before we end today, I just wanted to open the floor. Is there any other pieces of advice or lessons that you'd like to share?
Good question. I don't know. It's a pretty full life, a lot of stuff. You know, what to share in the last minute or two, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, just people like Nike just do it or Engler just start today, all these things, but that's easier said than done. My friend Shay and Engler once said there's not always a right time. Like there's no right time to start a business, but there are definitely some wrong times. And so I get it. It's hard as an entrepreneur to sometimes get moving, but that's where I think one of the biggest parts that two things that make it hard for people to start a business. One, they don't know who they are. And that's not an emotional thing. A lot of that's just you gotta get that stick out of your butt. You can't take yourself too seriously. Sometimes you're gonna take a risk and look like an idiot, and that's okay. You have to just not take yourself too seriously. Get off your high stool and just go. Or high not high stool, high throne and just do what you gotta do. And secondly, I think something I noticed especially in Angler, a lot of kids I was with, they wanted to be an entrepreneur. But they're always like, why can't I get why don't I like I want to do this, but it never really materializes. And some of it is just, there's different reasons, but oftentimes the reason it's overlooked is you might want to be an entrepreneur, but you might not want it badly enough to do it instead of something else. And that's okay. You might want to weight lift, but you like playing basket, but you don't want to weight lift and be a bodybuilder more than you'd like to play basketball. And so weighing what is important to you in your life, not being afraid to be honest with yourself, and again, get that stick out of your butt. Everybody, a lot of people in college got one, and it just that ego will kill your entrepreneurship, man. You gotta not take yourself too seriously and just be cringe and be free, man. Like that's that's funny enough. That's oftentimes the way to success. And yeah.
Man, that was
Keep
really
your eye
good.
on the ball and don't take yourself too seriously. And the
Yeah.
rest, hey man, it takes its course.
I love who that is. I love what you shared. Know who you are for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining today. And I really enjoyed getting to know you, especially since we were kind of overlapping in college and passing by each other, but never had a chance to have a really in-depth conversation. It's been really wonderful to learn more about you, your multi-talented self, and all of these businesses that you run on the side. It's really cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed getting to share or talk with you today.
Oh, likewise. It's good getting to know you too again. We're catching up, especially, life gets busy, and I know you have a family now, which is,
Yeah,
new since I think college.
right.
And thanks for having me again on the podcast.
Yeah, time goes by fast when you're having fun, but thank you so much. And hopefully we see you again in the angler space soon.
Well, better sooner than later. We'll see what life brings.
Thanks, Daniel.